Salam sejahtera, ladies and gentlemen. Good afternoon and a warm welcome to all of you, as well as to our speaker for today, Abdul Rahman. Our talk today is the 37th of a series of webinars focusing on Malaysia's competitiveness performance and ranking as assessed and reported yearly by international organizations, namely the International Institute for Management Development, or in short IMD, in their World Competitiveness Yearbook, and the World Economic Forum, also known as WEF, in their Global Competitiveness Report. In the recent World Competitiveness Yearbook 2020, also known as WCY 2020, Malaysia's competitiveness ranking has slipped to 27th position from 22nd in 2019. So that's a 5-position drop out of 63 countries assessed by IMD. This overall competitiveness score and rank is calculated based on 255 criteria, measuring different dimensions of an economy's competitiveness. 2/3 of the criteria use hard data or hard statistics obtained from international as well as national sources, and 1/3 uses survey data obtained from an executive opinion survey aimed at respondents from the senior and middle management levels of the private sector. The 255 criteria are categorized into the 4 competitiveness factors of economic performance, government efficiency, business efficiency, and infrastructure. In our talk this afternoon, Encik Rahman will be presenting on part-time employment, which is a criterion in the category of labor market within the business efficiency factor. This criterion measures part-time employment as a percentage of total employment, and a higher percentage of part-time employment will result in a higher score and better rank for this criterion. I'm sure Encik Rahman will elaborate further and also enlighten us on this topic in his talk today. Okay. Before I hand over the session to our speaker, let me first introduce him. Encik Abdul Rahman bin Yahya is currently the Technical and Operational Director of AOL Ventures, a training provider and management consultant firm. His key focus areas in the company are new business development, new system and methodology implementation, quality assurance, and also customer satisfaction. Being a management consultant and trainer himself, Encik Rahman also provides training and consultancy in financial, human resources, and technical aspects of administration. He had successfully developed new compensation structures for 5 SMEs in Selangor and spearheaded initiatives of performance appraisal, management development, job design, and competencies framework. Prior to that, Encik Rahman has had a long-lasting career accumulating multifunctional experience in the electronics manufacturing industry, starting as a senior industrial engineer in Sanyo Electric Penang in 1986, then moving on to management roles in Sony Electronics, Sony Mechatronics Products, Cablevision Technologies in Kedah, where he was the general manager, Presico Group of Companies, Solectron Technology, Kobe Precision Technology, and LD Technologies in Kedah, where he was the general manager from March 2010 to September 2014. With that, I now hand over the session to Encik Rahman. Over to you, Encik Rahman.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Wong, for the introduction. Today, good afternoon also to all of you that is in webinar today. And then today my purpose is more on the presenting on the part-time employment, which is one of the criteria on IMD competitiveness ranking for the government. Okay. Okay, the objective of this show the sharing is first to highlight on Malaysia current ranking for business efficiency in the WCI 2020 IMD, especially criteria in part-time employment, like what I mentioned earlier. Also to analyze the reasons or drivers that have determined the current position or ranking. And then on the third point is to recommend an initiative that can help Malaysia to improve on the current ranking in this indicator and currently to overall performance. Okay, first of all, let us understand what is the meaning of part-time employment. Briefly, the definition is a part-time employment is one who is under a contract of service to work less than 35 hours a week. A week that is comprised of Monday to Friday, except for Saturday and Sunday is a normal rest day and public holidays. Part-time employees are also covered by the Employment Act, except for those who are domestic workers or seamen. Although the most companies define these is anything under 40 hours, the Fair Labor Standard Act does not currently differentiate between part-time and full-time employment. As a result, each individual employer has the authority to establish higher or lower on the hours. However, the MOH, the Ministry of Human Resource, define part-time employment is 1 to 34 hours per week. But in many cases, a minimum of 20 hours per week is required to consider a part-time employee, and workers are expected to remain on call for additional shift or seasonal overtime. Okay, next is part-time employment also refers to regular employment in which working time is substantially less than normal. Definitions of part-time employment differ by countries. Okay. Description. A part-time work is usually determined by factors such as the hiring company or employer, which is the employer will set the condition for the job as well as the pay. The position of the job. Some positions, especially those in service industries and industries that operate around the clock, are more suited to the part-time workers. The budget for the job is also had to consider. Employers with a limited budget might decide to hire part-time workers. Since part-time workers are not entitled to benefits, hiring part-time workers is more cost-effective compared to hiring full-time workers, which is involves also and then also EPF. Then, but this part-time employment does not have to cover all that. They just give a lump sum of that. Okay, personal services and other activities. Personal services and other activities comprises activities of membership organization, repair computers, or personal and household goods, or other personal activities. That is also a part-time job. Okay, contract of service, like what I mentioned earlier. As a part-time employee, contract of service must specify the hourly basic rate of pay. Hourly gross rate pay, the hourly basic rate plus allowances is there. Number of working hours per day or per week. Number of days per week or per month. Okay, agreement between the employer and the employee. That is crucial, should be very important. Part-time job, especially those with rotating shift, will require an employer to furnish the employee with information about days and hours available for them to be able to come up with a rotating schedule for all the jobs. Such jobs include restaurant waiters, nurses, cashiers, or retail sales people. These are all I got it from Department of Statistics, Dawson. Okay, then let us view something about the total population of Malaysia currently in 2020. So I just break into two, that is male and female. Yeah, male comprised of 16.2 million, whereby female is at 17.5 million. This was released in the 29th of July 2011, but it's quite or sometime, but the latest one I will share later. Okay, this give an average of annual population growth of 2.0% for the period of 2000 to 2010. Okay, next, there is a part-time employees in Malaysia are protected by statute, specifically Employment Part-Time Employee Regulation 2010. The regulation is part of the Employment Act 1955. This means that other than the protection afforded to them under the 2010 regulation, they are also protected under the Employment Act. Okay, statutory entitlement of the part-time employee. They are entitled for overtime, and an employee who is required to work excess of these normal hours of work but does not exceed the normal hours of work of a full-time employee entitled to overtime pay of less than his hourly rate of pay for each hour of part thereof. If the part-time employee is required to work extra hours which exceed the normal hours, the work of the full-time employee, he is she entitled to an overtime payment of less than 1.5 times his hourly rate of pay, which is lesser than the normal working person on the full-time employment for each hour of their part or thereof. Okay, concerning the public holidays, yes, a part-timer gets to enjoy all the public holidays. Yes, just like the rest of the other employees. The law allows them to enjoy not less than 7 gazetted public holidays as follows. That is what we have here in Malaysia. The National Day, the King Birthday, Birthday of State Ruler, Labour Law, any 3 other public holidays declared under the Holiday Act 1951. If the part-timer is required to work of these public holidays, he will be entitled to payment of the following rates. For his normal hours of work, not less than twice his daily wages. For overtime work on a public holiday, or hours not exceeding the normal working hours of a full-time employee, not less than twice his hourly rate. For those exceeding the normal working hours of full-time employee, not less than 3 times his hourly rate also. But on annual leave, part-timers are entitled to annual leave too, as follows. Less than 2 years service, not less than 6 days. More than 2 days, 2 days, but less than 5 years of service is less than 8 days. More than 2 years, sorry. They get less than 8 days. If 5 years or more service, not less than 11 days. So some other companies, different companies, they are giving more annual leave to their employees, especially on the full-time employment, not on the part-time. Mr. Wong, is there anything that you would like to pause me?
Okay. Thank you, Abdul Rahman.
Yep.
We can pause for a while here to see if there are any questions from attendees, from the participants. Okay. I'm checking this question box. No question at the moment. Probably I just asked one question, Rahman, just for clarification regarding this part-time employment definition according to this IMD's way of measuring in the WCY. I just wanted to check with you regarding students, especially students in colleges, universities. Maybe they work part-time to help support their daily living expenses, or maybe they work part-time during the semester break or while waiting for exam results. Are these considered as part-time employment if they only work maybe during weekends, or maybe they work at night 3 hours a day, or sometimes not even every day, alternate days they work? So are these captured as part-time employment?
Yes, for the definition is under a part-time employment, but on the statistic that is taken by DOSHM, that I'm not clear about that. But on definition, there is.
Okay, so by definition, that should be considered as part of the part-time employment measurement. But then you're saying you're not sure how the data is captured reliably, is it, by DOSHM?
Yes.
Okay, I understand. I see. So will you be showing how DOSHM collect this data regarding this part-time employment? By what way or method they collect this data?
They collect data more on the what they have done for others. That is on the more on survey.
Okay, so it's a labor force survey that they use to collect the data.
Yes.
Okay, yes. I see. Okay, thank you. Let me check if there are any questions still. So I think still no question at the moment. You can proceed, Rahman.
Yeah, maybe it's too early.
Too early, yeah. We wait until the end of your talk, then maybe we'll have more questions then.
Okay. Okay, I'll proceed, yeah, so.
Yes, yes, please go ahead.
Okay, next is we continue on again on this. If the part-timer required to work on this public holidays, he will entitle the payment the following rates. Okay, for his normal hours work less than twice his daily wages. That's what I mentioned earlier. Okay, continue on that. Talking about sick leave. If less than 2 years of service, not less than 10 days, they are given a sick leave. But for the normal hours, you can see most of the company or the organization, they're giving like 14 days sick leave. Okay. Then more than 2 or less than 5 years of service, not less than 13 days given. But if more than 5 years, talking about sick leave, they are entitled like 15 days. Okay, statutory contribution. The wages of part-time employees are subject also to EPF and IS contribution for certain companies. But for other companies, they practice like contract workers, whereby EPF are not entitled. But some they are given, like what I mentioned earlier, that there's no EPF also. So, but for these cases, as on labor part, they have to provide this, but some company they don't give. Okay, on the other benefits, part-timers may be given other benefits such as medical allowance, depend on company to companies. Okay, the rate will differ with full-time permanent employees. Okay, then next we go to a termination of contract. The provision of termination of contract under Employment Act is also applied to part-time employees, just like full-time employees. This means that for termination of contract for special reason due to injury must still be conducted. Any employer who denies that part-timer of the above entitlement have committed offense and a breach of contract. Okay, next is are the part-timers obliged to comply with the company handbook? Part-timers may be subject to terms and conditions of services which are applicable to full-time employees such as confidentiality, disciplinary policies, health, and also the safety rules. So part of the handbook is also they have to comply. Okay, we go to the male and female part-times. What is their limit age? Okay, the total number of age group is taking into consideration this around 15 to 64 years old, inclusive of anything for full or part-timers employees, with respect to current number of Malaysian population. Okay, what is the Malaysian population right now, as of now? So it's expected to reach about 33.1 million by the end of 2020, according to the Trading Economics Global micro models and analysis expectation. In the long term, the Malaysia population is projected to trend around 33.45 million in 2021. That is what they predicted, and 33.8 million in 2022. Okay, according to our econometric models. But in 2019, the employment rate in Malaysia was at approximately 3.32% only. Okay. Okay, in Malaysia, the part-time employees percentage of total employment data was reported at 4.35%. That is in 2016. This record decreased from the previous number of 5.156% in 2015. So I don't have the details why it was decreased, but then that is the figure that I got it from Dawson. Malaysia part-time employment, the total employment data is updated yearly, then averaging for 5.505% from December 2009 to 2016, which they observed 8 observations. But data reached on all-time high, that is around 6.18% in 2010, and a record low of 4.35% in 2016. Okay. Then the percentage of total employment data remains active status in CIC. That is based on computer electronic information control, and is spotted by the World Bank also. The data is categorized under Global Database Malaysia, and also table My World Bank employment and unemployment criteria. Okay, International Labour Organization (ILO) key indicators of the labour market database weighted average relevant to gender indicator. More and more women, they have reported that working part-time, and one of the concern is the part-time work does not provide the stability that full-time work does. So especially for the women, they love to go for part-time rather than full-time because of many reasons that I will share later. Okay, I skip a bit, then I'll go into the talking about the currently on the work in the gig economy. What is the position? The gig economy includes people who is earn money by using one of the many available online platforms. So they are the gig economies people. For example, offer rights. That is talking about right now is quite famous. That is Grab food, and then run errands and make deliveries. We know that given the irregular and often on demand nature of gig economic income, in many cases or does not even occur to many people, and their income is taxable too, let alone what other obligations are in respect of it. But if you're talking about taxable, then if they are not registered, then they won't be tax to them. Okay, our tax, if you work in the gig economy fact sheet that you can look into that, offers guidance tailored to those working in the gig economy about their tax and employment law or status, including on registering the self-assessment too. It also covers a wide range of other issues on which workers are likely to have questions, including what to do about one of or every casual job. And then what about the deductible expenses? The new trading allowance, which may mean that you do not have to register with HMRC for self-assessment. Your tax credits, universal credit position, national insurance contribution, NIC. Then the publication of the fact sheet was promoted by HMRC research suggesting that many people, that is around 54%, who have earned income from the sharing economy, which include those working in the gig economy, do not realize it is taxable. So that's why most of the workers on the gig economies are not paying tax, because they are not really aware about this. Okay, like what mentioned earlier, that's the factors that are influencing employment. That include permanent employment and also the part-time employment. What are the factors? As you can see here, there are many factors. So such as attending part-time courses, and also like student, permanently ill or disabled, and care of elderly or sick relatives like parents. They stop, mostly ladies, they stop working because they take care of their parents. Childcare, with no suitable work available, lack of necessary qualification, training or skills or experience, and then because of housework, pursuing full-time study, and then people like us who have already retired and not going to work, employers discrimination, example, people younger workers. So these employers, you have to really focus to them. Poor health, awaiting NS, call-up, examination result, then many others. This is some of the factors that influencing employment. So I go to the next. Why some workers prefer to work part-time? Okay, anything under 35 hours per week is typically considered a part-time job. That is already fully understood. Okay, So why they work? They like to work part-time, especially the ladies. Childcare or family responsibilities, completing a degree or acquiring further training, launching their own business ventures while still earning an income. So if they have some business, maybe they can just off and then opt for part-time. At least they have double income. Reducing stress, having time for other hobbies and interests. So this is why the people work part-time. Okay, before I go to this understand about measurement process or data information source, that's the portion of the part-time explanation. So maybe would like to pause, Mr. Wong, or I continue?
Okay, there's still no questions yet from the participants, Rahman. I think probably you may proceed first. Later, I would also like to check with you regarding the source of the data. I think you'll be presenting about that one. How reliable is the capturing of the data regarding part-time employment for Malaysia? But I think that question probably we leave it to later after you have presented or talk about how we obtain the data regarding the part-time employment for Malaysia.
Okay.
Thanks. Please proceed.
Okay, next is understand of measurement processes and data information source. Okay, this is the statistics from Dawson recently taken. Employment statistics second quarter 2020 was reported on the Thursday, August 2020. Okay, introduction. The publication present a labor demand statistic based on the quarterly employment survey. So mostly, if you talk about second quarter, the data is until June 2020 because first quarter is March. The second quarter will be June, correct? And then the survey is more on the survey, quarterly employment survey conducted on former private sector establishment and comprising major economic activities, namely agriculture, mining, quarrying, manufacturing, construction, and services. The principal statistic of employment presented in this report are job field job vacancies, job created by economic activities, and category of skill. So this is the whole data that is given by the Dawson. Okay, in quarter 2, 2020, total jobs in the private sector decreased by 236,000. Year on is talking about 8.38 million. Field jobs comprised of 8.214 million, with the rate of field jobs recorded at 98%. In the meantime, job vacancy also dropped to 170,000 with the vacancy rate of 2%. And then talking about the next is the labor demand by skill. Okay. In quarter 2, 2020, jobs in the skill category the 8.1%. Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, go ahead. Go ahead. We lost you for a short while just now. Because of the connection. Maybe you repeat again for what you have just said in the last 10 seconds, because we lost you for a short while just now because of connection problem.
Maybe I start with the labor demand second quarter 2020. Mr. Wong? Mr. Wong? You lost me again? Hello? Mr. Wong?
You can start from labor demand by skill. We could still hear you when you were explaining labor demand in the second quarter of 2020.
Okay. So next is labor demand by skill. In quarter 2, 2020, jobs in the skill category decreased by 48,000 from quarter 2, 2019. That is talking about 1 year or 12 months around the road, to 2.058 million jobs. comprising of 98.1% of field jobs. There is 2.019 millions, and vacancy of 1.9% only, 39,000 vacancy. Meanwhile, 3,000 jobs were created in quarter 2 2020, even though we are in the COVID and this pandemic problems or issues. Okay, what about semi-skill category? This is recorded at 5.21 million jobs, also declined by 157,000 jobs as again quarter 2 2019. That is also we take a basis of 12 months. All these I gathered from the report here on the abortion report. Okay, quarter 2019, the rate of field job was 98.2% with 5.118 million field job. With vacancy rate was 1.8% with 93,000 job vacancy. This category recorded 8,000 jobs created. Okay, as for low skill category jobs decreased. That is because we have also a labor skill, semi skill, full skill, and also now it's talking about a low skill. Okay, it's decreased by 31,000 year to year to 1.115 million. Field job made up to 96.6% of the total jobs at 1.077 million. Okay, it's all talking about figures. Okay, next. Okay, about labor demand by economic activity. Services sector remain with the largest share of jobs in quarter 2 2020 at 51.8%, followed by manufacturing sectors to be the highest, 26.6%, and construction is at only 14.9%. Okay, the remaining were in agriculture sector, which is talking about 5.7%, and mining, and also quarrying sector that is only at 0.9%. So not much quarrying is also in Malaysia. So on the contrary, vacancies was primarily in the manufacturing sector with a share of 55.1%, while services sector comprised of 17.3%. Agriculture sector ranked third with a share of 16.6%, followed by construction, that is at 10.8%, and mining and quarrying 0.2%. Okay, as for job created, 35.2% were in services in the sector, followed by manufacturing, whereby it's at 30.9%, and construction is at 30.2%. Okay, I'll skip this because too small. Okay, then World Continuous Ranking. This is what I got it from our IMD report that's sent by MPC too, whereby it's showing the competitive ranking. The number one still Singapore for 2 consecutive years, 2019 and also 2020. And then the second placing for 2019, that is Denmark. And then third placing is Switzerland. Then we have talking about 4 Netherlands, and fifth is also Hong Kong. This is a competitive ranking. Okay, in Asia Pacific and Asian region, Malaysia have placed rank number 8. And then number 1 is still Singapore. So Singapore is in fact is overall still number 1. And then the second placing Hong Kong, third is Taiwan, Australia 4th, 5th is China, mainland 6th New Zealand, 7th Korea, and then Malaysia number 8, Thailand will be at number 9, Japan is at number 10. So we are compared better than Japan. Then Indonesia is at number 11, 12 is India, and then Philippines 13, and Mongolia is 14. Okay, let's go to the topic, the main criteria is part-time employment. What I got here is only at the 2018, whereby Netherlands at that time, 2018, part-time employment is at number 1, holding at 37.3%. And then Malaysia, okay, Malaysia is at number 4. You see that, I can see clearly. Malaysia, okay, Malaysia we have at number 52, second last, compared to the last with the figures that is Bulgaria, it's 53, because the rest they don't get the percentage, the point there. Okay. So Malaysia is quite low on the part-time employment, very low, second last from bottom. Okay, next, like what I mentioned earlier, in addition to the part-time job, what are the part-time jobs? The 10 best part-time jobs for the local and also for international students in Malaysia. So this is what the survey have done, they got this result. So what are the best part-time jobs? There are home tutor, event staff, food service staff, freelancer, direct sales, photographer, retail store assistant, and bartender, cafe bar, barista, or waiter, setting. Okay, then the graph, that's what I see on the labor market. It's a business agency, labor market rank consistently below 24. That is taken from 2011 to 2020, the data taken from the IMD report, the BCY 2020. And as you can see, the labor part-time employment is under the labor market. Right? Labor market is the one that is on in orange. So we can see like 2020. So we have also improved compared to 2018. 2018 we not improved. We are getting back on that. Okay, going down. Next. Okay, on the part-time employment rank, that's what I mentioned earlier. It's between 55 to 10. So just now we see we are at what 52. Okay, and then in 2019, we are 53, but 2018 part-time employment, we are at 11 percentage of total employment. Okay, and then minimum and also maximum. So minimum, the lowest we have is we are at number 11. Then the worst that we are is at number 53. Okay, percentage of employment. Okay, part-time employment, young people make up a majority of unemployed graduates. Many kids do not make it the end of the secondary school in 2018. These are the numbers. The one is on the bar chart. The top bar chart is the numbers, the figures, and here on the left-hand side is more talking about the percentage and also the age. Okay. On the right-hand side, you can see the primary school is 60,538. Then we have 48,942 for the lower secondary, and the upper secondary is 167,929. Okay, data from Boscher in 2018 figures. Okay, as for percentage on the left-hand side, more than 44 years old, 2%, 55 to 44 years old is 6%, and 25 to 34 years old, 42%. But less than 25 years old is at 50%. Okay, I go to the next item, that is identify the key authorities and regulators. Okay, the approach is more on the application of key authorities and regulators for governance of ownership or the criteria rank improvement. So who are the people that they should have focus on this to enable that our ranking is going up and then improve. Okay, the agencies and the bodies that should be responsible for this are the government, that is NOHR, and then there also other agencies, that is Perkeso. You have JTM, you have NIOS, and PPK, MBOT, JPP, yes, and then all these agencies. And not forgetting also our Mahkamah Perusahaan, because they play an important role too. And then HRDF, as you know. And then currently, previously, not currently, the Talent Corp is also doing an effort to encourage people to be employed, either part-time or full-time, with some incentives that they have given into that from the government. Okay, this is the Ministry of Human Resource. The Ministry of Human Resource, is the Ministry of Government of Malaysia that is responsible for the skill development, labor, occupational safety and health, trade union, industrial relations, the support, labor market information analysis, and social security. So they are the main. That all these just now all the bodies or agencies are also under government under them. Okay. Okay, labor market statistical information, where most of the data is taken from this MRRCM or version. The Manpower Research Statistical Department offers a wide range of official statistical information on Malaysian labor market through report, table, interactive chart, video, graphics, and also infographics. Yet, the understanding of statistics and compare against the national or industry norms in wages, employment condition, and also staff turnover. Statistics produced by MRSDM are in line with international statistics standard recommended by the ILO, International Labour Organizations. Okay, this is what their roles. So I'll skip this. Okay, what is FOXO or Pertubuhan Keselamatan Sosial Perkeso? Okay, the Social Security Organization also was in fact established one of the government department under the Ministry of Human Resources, like what I mentioned earlier. I know HR, they have many agencies under them. That is implement and enforce on Employee Social Security Act 1969 and the Employee Social Security General Regulation 1971. That is the job function of the FOXO or Perkeso. Okay, next we go to what is industrial court, or I mean what is Malaysian employment law that's controlled by this industrial court. Employment law in Malaysia generally governed by Employment Act 1955, like what mentioned earlier in the earlier slide. The Employment Act set out certain minimum benefits that are ordered afforded to applicable employees. Any clause in the employment contract that purports to offer less favorable benefit than those set out in the Employment Act shall be void and replaced with a minimum benefits in the Employment Act. What many people fail to realize that the Employment Act does not apply to all employees. The protection under the Employment Act only applies to key categories or employees. Let's call them EA employees. EA employees is the one that is governed under the what they call Employment Act. What they receive is for all the tax, income tax. Usually the company will provide end of the year for this EA form. Okay, employees whose monthly salary does not exceed 2,000 at this current moment. Employees who are engaged in manual labor regardless of their salary. Employees engaged in the operation or maintain or mechanically propel vehicle. Employees who supervise or oversees other employees engaged in manual labor. Employees engaged in any capacity on vessel subject to certain or other conditions. Okay, third, I would like to share on the identified key drivers which influence the selected criteria. So mainly it's from Google search and also indicator driver mapping, cost, and also an effect analysis. Okay, indicator driver mapping, part-time employment. Okay, under the part-time employment driver, so there is I pick up 4 main items. That is, first is poverty, second is education attainment, population, number 3, and also supply of demand. Okay, we're talking about poverty. So this is more on talking about the income. So whether they have less income or more income. And then also on the social environment, social issues. And then talking about political matters that also influencing them. And then what is the basic needs that is more on poverty. So if they need more, so they like to work more, or they get more job. That is okay. On the education attainment. So more on talking about knowledge. So how much knowledge they have to perform the job, and then and also on the communication skill, whether they have the communication of doing that, and then also how much the management they acquire or they have. And then again, if they are on the job, they should have experience. So what experience do they have? So if they don't have much experience, most probably the agencies or the organization is not going to employ them for that job. And then on the population, so talking about increase or decreases of population, the number of people. And then we talk about just now earlier, male and female, 2 gender. And then about age, that is talking about 15 to 64, right? And then and also the last thing is about their health, whether they are healthy or they need to go to take medication or during working for something. Then this will affect their employment. And then next is supply and demand. Supply and demand is more on the company, whether right now how to get the raw material, whether they acquire locally or we have to export. So such company is right now we are talking about the face mask. So face mask, so raw material of getting the face mask, that's why the price of face mask earlier is quite expensive. But right now, due to the raw material maybe cheaper, and the government has also contributed some of that, then the face mask is going to go down. Then what about the capital? How much capital does the person need to invest in the company and to create a job for people? And then infrastructure. It's talking about the infrastructure, whether the area that they're going to set up the company is transportation okay or not, and then the people on that in their area, whether population or the workers, they can get easily or something. And then it's also the transportation that is going to work, whether they are staying in the rural areas. So if they want to come to work into the company, whether they have to travel, how are they going to travel? And then what about the investor, whether the investor is reliable or not reliable? So some investor, they just overnight investor. Right now we have a very hot topic right now is Macau scam. That is one also the investor. So it's not that good investor. So don't invest on that. Okay. Okay. With all these, what the government have done. So we have right now The plan Jana Semula Ekonomi, Penjana, that is talking about short-term economic recovery plan step in giving the company or the organization or any body who wants to start a business, okay, so can just go to this scheme on the Penjana. So with the correct, with the proper information or data, so we can acquire this. Again, the next is quite recently also, and I'm still ongoing. The Plan Rancangan Ekonomi Rakyat Prihatin Negara Prihatin Economic Stimulus Package. And then not forgetting the 12th Malaysia Plan that will be launched in November. So just now is October. So that will covers from 2021 to 2025. Okay. So actually they say they will cover in early 2021, but now in fact 2020 November, I think they will start with the 12 Malaysian plan. 12 Malaysian, no, sorry. 12 Malaysian plan will be in 2021, but the economic review is in November. Sorry, I made mistake. And then we have also a gig economy that is supporting on this current employment. This is a labor market characterized by the prevalence of short-term contract or freelance work or offers permanent job. And also this is also encouraging, whereby you can register through online and have your own company individually, not under enterprise, but individual. That is what they have. Many of the students, even everybody, if are interested on doing this, they just apply and then they work on this gig economy. Okay, on the part-time employment, focus priority more on the supply and demand. So the various factors just now. So we just pick supply and demand on this. So on supply and demand, so we have to focus on capital, like what I mentioned earlier, raw material. For capital, is more talking about the funder, whether we can get the fund, who is going to give, the bank or the individual or person. And in fact, the own owner of the company, they will fund into, they will inject the money, and then whether they will do a joint venture with any partner or anybody. And then also getting some of the government entity, so the government has given some grant or something. And then on the raw material, so first we have to talk about we have to consider about whether the raw material is import or local source, whether the material or even local or import, whether they are common or they are unique material. And then we have also to consider about the direct and indirect materials, to how to acquire all this. And then on the infrastructures, whether you want to come up with a company or the building in the urban or the area or in the town area. And then we have a new development, whether going to new development or congested. We have to also consider whether the area is congested or very hectic place, and many red tapes. So we have to eliminate all this and to consider this. So because some of the countries like Netherlands, Singapore, they have also consider all these factors. That's why they are very successful. And then what about the investor? Whether they are small or bigger investor, giant, big. What about the languages? I mean, more on the how to communicate. And then skeptical, whether they are there or this. So these are all the things that we have to focus. So I rated them on the 1 to 3 So low impact is for number 1, and 2 is a medium impact, and 3 is a high impact. So here I consider as infrastructure as a high impact, because whatever we do, the investor or something, they would like to see on where they really have to invest, whether how much they have to invest. If this infrastructure is there, all these things are there. So that's why I put that as number 3. It's a high impact. And then for investor, it's more like low impact. That is, originally, if they come out with a company, either big or small, the investor, they have money, they will invest. That's the thing. Then this for the other 2 is more like medium impact. Okay. Next, to identify the policy regulation changes required for rank improvement. The approach is benchmark best in the class economy. So more like we have to benchmark the other countries, beside the best performance countries. This. Okay, the authorities and the regulators. So up to here, what I have is mainly a government. There is MOHR, Ministry of Human Resource. So they are governed by all the related policies and regulations, all the laws and bills on criteria, all under them. So any amendment or any bills or policy that is going to establish, so go to this MOHR, that is the government or the parliament itself. And then who are the regulators? MRSDM, TOTSO, IR, HRDF, then the one that previously discussed, all the agencies. So visited each respective agency's website for all the policies and regulation procedures and instructions. So because I cannot go into all details, I just give the guideline of this. Okay, talking about policy and regulator. So let us see what is the labor policy. Labor policy include policies concerned with relation between employees and employers, and those concerned with employment, training and distribution of workers in the labor market. While processing naturality or labor matters, government has often intervened without legal basis on behalf of employees. December 16, 2013. That is labor policy. And then what is employment law? The employment law, the new minimum wages rate is to take effect on the 1st February 2020. That is already in effect. The minimum wages order 2020 order was gazetted on 10 January 2020 and will come into operation February 2020. It's already in place. In addition to the order increase the minimum monthly wages for the other parts of the country by 50 ringgit to 1,100. January reported in January 13, 2020. Okay. Definition of part-time employee under Employment Act. Okay, this is what is already discussed. Okay, I'll skip this. Okay, on the details of Employment Act of Malaysia, so I don't think I will discuss this.
Okay,
yeah. Okay.
We lost you for a short while again just now. A few seconds we lost you. Yeah, maybe you can start again from the slide just now.
Okay. Wait. Policy and regulator.
I think these are okay. These are okay. After this slide, yeah, it was after this slide.
Okay, this slide, right? Details of Employment Act of Malaysia.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. For this, I don't think. Maybe I just go through a few things here. I'm not going to go all. Okay. Under this details of Employment Act of Malaysia, a person who has entered into an employment contract or contract of services with the employer under which such person wages do not exceed 2,000 ringgit a month. That's what we like to see afterward on the recommendation. Included in the first schedule of the Employment Act 1955. And B, that person average hours of work per week are more than 30%, but not exceeding 70% of the normal hours of work per week of a full-time employee employed in a similar capacity by the same employer, where the normal hours of work of a full-time employee cannot be ascertained, or it shall be deemed to the 8 hours in one day or 48 hours in 1 week. 1 week is talking about Monday to Friday, in fact. But then now some companies, they are taking Saturday also into consideration, half day. So that is Monday to Saturday, half day. That is 48 hours per week. Okay, next. Okay, Mr. Wong, the sound?
Yes, okay so far. Yes, okay. Voice is clear so far. Okay.
Okay. Next, I would like to share on the best performance country for part-time employment. That is Netherlands. What are the policies in place? What are the practice they have done? Okay. Okay. Let's go through. I think I just pick certain point here. Employment policy and regulation of part-time work in European Union. Okay, this is reported in April 2014. The Netherlands remains well behind the best achievers, even until 2018, as what we see just now. They are still #1 in the part-time employment. And the country ranked as #1 till 2019. Okay, even 2018 and 2019, they are also at #1. The OECD report Aging and Employment Policies Netherlands, published in 2005. The policy is done in 2005. Included new policy which more perks and benefits, incentive put in place to encourage older people to work. So like people like us, is old, still young. Providing occupational pension right as they often work part-time. Okay. Okay, Dutch part-time employment shares are higher than all other countries. More women were encouraged to continue into establish in a country that already displayed the highest part-time work rate in the world. Yes. And then lowering the age of no risk in case of disease to 56 for the long-term and unemployed. So in fact, there's no pension at 56. So their pension at 58, if I'm not mistaken. So they would like to encourage, as long as they are healthy. So they have to work more than even after 56 years old. Okay, subsidy for the innovative approach for getting the older unemployed or unfilled vacancies. So for older people, they're giving incentive. And then point is lowering the age of no risk case in disease 56, like I mentioned earlier, subsidy for innovative approach for getting the older employee vacancy, providing employment, hiring subsidies to the firm. In fact, they're giving a thing to the company. So the government has implemented a number of incentives for employers to hire older, long-term unemployed persons. These include 1. Internship and probationary placement for recipient of unemployment or disability benefits, such as arrangement enable employees to continue receiving benefit with the employer, not having to pay a salary of between 3 to 6 months. 2. In parallel, the government has revised the mobility bonus for employers who hire older persons receiving unemployment benefits. Okay, from 2015, the government decided measures to improve the mobility bonus with both budgetary and policy agreement playing a role in this decision. In January 2015, the eligibility age for the bonus was raised from 50 to 56 as the likelihood of older benefits recipient finding more dropped significantly after the age of 55. A second measure addressed a relatively high amount of the mobility bonus. Self-employer, usually those with fewer and five, the government lowered the maximum amount of bonus in order to make the subsidy budget neutral, given the expected increase in the number of firms using the benefits, paying less in taxes and social security contribution and the amount of bonus, and therefore cannot receive its full benefit. Okay, next is providing employment or hiring subsidies to the firm. The government has implemented a number of incentives for employers to hire older term and pension personnel. Formerly, the mobility bonus reduced the employee social security contribution by maximum of euro 7,000 per year for full-time employee for a maximum period of 3 years. In January in 2015, the eligibility age for the bonus was raised from 50 to 6 as likelihood of the old benefit recipient finding work drop significantly after the age of 55. That is the reason why they have done this. Okay, learn even more about Netherlands in the oecd.org. So you can go into that, you can have more detail about that. Okay, then you have Netherlands perform well, many measures being relative to most other countries, it's like the life index, and Netherlands is a rank top work life. Then they also rank as a top work-life balance and above the average in job and earning, housing, education and skill, subjective well-being, social connection, environmental quality, personal security, civic engagement and health status. It ranks below the average in income and wealth also. These rankings are based on available selected data that you can go into the one that I mentioned earlier, oecd.org. Okay, in fact, the population is only 17.1 million. Okay, people will say that, because the population is less. Okay, they have the visitors per year is 11.2 million. Renewable energy is at 4.3%. Okay, on the second measure address, the relative high amount of the mobility bonus. Small employers usually those who this to make the subsidies, but budget neutral given the expected increase of number of firms using the benefit paying less taxes, social security contribution, and the amount of bonus, and therefore cannot receive its full benefit. Money, while it cannot be happiness, is more important in achieving higher living standard. In Netherlands, the average household net adjusted disposable income per capita is USD 29,333 a year, USD, lower than the OECD average, that is USD 33,664 reported by OECD. But there is a considerable gap between the richest and the poorest. The top 20% of the population earn more than 4 times as much as the bottom 20%. In terms of employment, 76% of people aged 15 to 64 in Netherlands have a paid job above the OECD employment average, which recorded as 68%. Some 80% of men are in paid work compared with 71% of women. So men is more working rather than women. In the Netherlands, 0.4% of employees work very long hours. The lowest rate is in the OECD, where the average 11%, about 1% of the men work very long hours compared with almost no women. So women go back early. Good education and skills are important requisite for finding a job. In the Netherlands, 78% of adults aged 25 to 64 have completed their upper secondary education, slightly lower than OECD average, that is 78%. This is truer for men than women, as 79% of men have successfully completed high school compared to 78% of women. So it's only at 1%. for women. In terms of the quality of education system, the average student score 508 in reading literacy, maths and science in OECD program for international student assessment. The score is higher than the OECD average of 486, making the Netherlands one of the strongest OECD countries in student skill. On average, in Netherlands, girls outperform boys by 6 points, more than average OECD gap of 2 points. In terms of life in Netherlands is 82 years old, 2 years higher than OECD. It's 80 years. Like the woman is more higher than men by 1 year or so. 83 years compared with 80 years for men. The level of mastery is for PM 2.2. So enough. Okay, next. The Netherlands perform better terms of water quality. Oh, okay, I'm not going to share this. You can have this from the website. Second. Okay, I'll go to next. Okay, laws of Malaysia Government Employee Act 1955, online version of the third text or reprint as of 30th April at all workers whose earning 2,000. That was mentioned earlier. Okay, under MOH, Ministry of Human Resources. Okay, this are the thing. Right. Okay, then I'll go to conclusion. Okay, here are the few conclusions that we can get from the previous findings. First, introducing flexi working hours encourage house or group work or sub work. So I put in red here is responsibility will be government via MOHR and also Ministry of Finance also play a role, and EPF or KWSP, PKSO, Jabatan Bercakap Masyarakat, and also the industry itself. They have to play a role. So I have to encourage, come up with some the work that what are the work that can be given out, and not having people to come to the factories or to their organization to work. So, and then number two, we have enhanced more subcontract work. It's in addition to the above points. Work by providing more incentive, that is to SMEs, GLCs, and also multinational companies not forgotten. By providing more incentive and tax exemption to the state agencies, companies, and investors involved. This will, in fact, open their eyes or, in fact, encourage them to provide this type of work, subcontract work. And then agency, as mentioned earlier, is still government, MITI, MIDA, SMEDAC, MPC itself plays a role, MOF, KWSP, PKSO, JKN, and also not forgetting the income tax. So if the income tax departments give better offers or better privilege, then I think this will encourage them. Okay, number three, both part-time and full-time, either having a permanent or fixed-term contract, receive at least 70% of their gross salary in case of illness, but less than a minimum wages calculated per year for part-timers. Okay, these conclusion, these points, I've taken it from the Netherlands practice or corporate policy. This is what they have done. So I would like to have this as one of the conclusion. And then responsibility agencies, yes, it's all government, MOHR, EPF, agency will be like EPF, Contact, HRDF, PKSO, JKN, MOF. Okay, number four, retirees who are healthy are having active roles, various fields and skills should be encouraged to be advisor or consultant, mentor, trainer in the department on contract basis, year to year, renewable, depending on health condition. So this is also the idea that I got from the Netherlands policies. And then the agencies, like what is in red, Okay, for number 5, in Singapore, we have to also understand why Singapore number 1. So I just pick one of them from in Singapore. This community of health centers, CHCs, are effective in telling women to come back to work. CHC has an acceptable standard. The fees is not expensive, and the safety aspect also has better taken care of by the Singaporean authority. We in Malaysia need to quickly establish this rather than leaving this to the private sector to run the childcare centers. We are also moving towards of aging society. It's also high time to establish daycare centers for the elderly, so women can come back to work, because most women they take care of their parents because they are old. Nobody, so this might help. Okay. Number 6, we have to enforce more nurseries and kindergartens to the private company services. Okay, this is quite similar to item 5. Then number 7. So the 500 ringgit, that is what the Talent Corp has offered. I don't think it's much to encourage women under HRDF program to come back to work and those rental workforce. So here, what I can see is more likely if you increase to like 1,000 ringgit and pay directly into the employees and not into the EPF contribution, because the 500 they contribute into the EPF. So what people need is the immediate monetarily rather than go into EPF. So they have to wait until the age of 55 or what 58 or something before they can withdraw, or 50. So I think we would not encourage them. Okay. Okay, another item number 8, conclusion, is another major factor women stop working is the childcare facilities. That is not convincing enough, because you can see here all the tadika, nursery, many incidents happen, accident happen, that not really giving the parents or your families confidence of sending the kids to the childcare, and even the maid they have. Okay. And then number 9, Dosham. Okay, here is a Dosham should reveal on how the gig economy jobs such as e-hailing, dispatch, Grab driver, Grab food, etc. are captured. Because right now we don't have really concrete data saying that how Dosham has got that data, even though they are now doing based on surveys, but how much quantity of people, I mean the surveys quantity. Okay, then 10, encourage older people to work by providing occupational pension right as they often work part-time. Based on the OECD report aging employer policy, Netherlands 2005. Okay, number 11, encourage high caliber national who execute your company business remotely. Okay, it is a work system in which an employee performs his or her duties on site and are different from the employer officials. So this is not Netherlands. The one that is not highlighted is from UAE model. Okay. Okay, the last slide that I would like to do is more on the recommendation. Okay, based on what the conclusion mean, so this is the few recommendation that I have come up for the agencies or the governments or deciding to really focus. Like what item 1 just now mentioned, introducing flexi working hours and encourage house of work, group work. So I hope this the agencies related, I mean the responsible to really go into how to make this happen. Because right now, if you have to employ permanent workers, you the enterprise or the company or agencies have to provide company transport like bus kilang or cycling factory buses. So if the more employees they are working in the company, more buses, and you have more problems. So rather than you can suck some of the work out, like what I mean happened those days is for Wajah. So they in fact encourage kampung people or any entrepreneurs to come out with the thing. Then they provide the machine of making nails or paku. So this is one of the things that they have done. But unfortunately, because of the raw material or getting the raw material, that is a metal, raw material cannot be acquired, the company has to shut down, or other factors also, political issues, I think. Okay, and then second thing is to enhance more subcontract. Okay, again, quite similar to number one. And then number three, definitely 500 ringgit, we have to increase. In fact, my proposal, this is only my proposal. I don't think it's like talking about 1,000 ringgit at least something, and paid directly to the employee, not into the EPF. Okay, the rationale of this is even the household right now, in fact, you're talking about 1,000 at least. You will really support them for the whole month in case there is anything happen. So that's why I say that 1,000 will be quite reasonable. And then on the fourth item, fourth recommendation, another major factors women stop working is the children fertility. So we have to look into this and make how mothers to become more convincing by providing more on the childcare centers, more safety, and then all safe, all this. And then number five, recommendation is quite similar to what Singapore's have done. There is community center, effective encouraging women to work. Okay. And then is all this that Singaporean community unit to quickly establish the rather than living this. Okay, these are all the five recommendations that I've picked up that I think is quite relevant, that will have to support to boost up the ranking on the employment and also the part-time employment. So by doing this, I think we should be able to be better and not worse. Okay, so I think with that, I will end my presentation. So Mr. Wong.
Yeah, okay, thank you, Encik Rahman. Thank you.
Yeah.
And,
I thought you was cut off again.
No, I'm here. And while waiting for questions to come in, there are no questions yet still at the moment. So while waiting for questions to come in, I'd like to ask the first question, or rather the second question, since I asked the first question just now. So I was listening to you and trying to understand the data,
the figures
regarding part-time employment. I think you mentioned for Malaysia, the data is coming from our DOSM, right? Department of Statistics Malaysia, regarding the entire labor force, everything related to employment, in a sense, whether part-time or full-time or contract. Yeah, so and also breakdown of the employment by sector and by gender and so on. So I'd like to understand, is there based on your findings and your research, is there a clear way of whether, what do you call, reliable data collection in a part of this DOSM on this labor force survey, not just on part-time employment, but also on the other aspects of employment? Or is there a recommendation that you're saying we need to also look at how DOSM can improve the data collection, especially for this particular criterion on part-time employment? Because my question is still on different types of part-time employment. Some people may be self-employed, for example, like you mentioned about retirees, people who have retired from full-time work. Now they are doing, let's say, freelance work, but they are not employed by any particular company. They don't have a boss or any particular company employing them. So they are on their own, let's say, on their own, and then they're doing projects. They have customers, they have clients, they're doing projects now and then, not every day. So are they being captured as part of part-time employment? That's my question. And also, gig economy, people in the gig economy, they may be doing Grab car driving, Grab transportation or e-hailing, and then Grab food delivery, things like that. Also doing online work from their home using social media. Are these all considered as captured by captured by DOSM as part-time employment, or do we need to improve the data collection in this aspect? Your opinion on this, please.
Okay, right now, based on the data that I go through into this DOSM's report, I don't think they have a very precise data because mainly what they have done is more on surveys. Then surveys is not accurate, and then you're picking up on this number of peoples, and then you get this data. So in my opinion, for us to enable, or DOSM itself, they have to go to a body like registration department to get what accurate data. I mean, I think nowadays our my card, okay, once you click, just with the finger touch, I mean, you can get all this information, right? So I would rather say that because everybody will have the ICs, and then from the IC, we can also track them, okay, whether they are working, they are not working, right? And then also we can also get a data from the income tax, okay, because of some they engage with income tax, they pay income tax, but some do not pay, at least rather than what DOSM is doing more on surveys. So by getting all that data from these agencies, in fact others is like JKN, because Jabatan Kebajikan Masyarakat also plays a role, because people with no job, OKU or resulting, old age, they also did go for Kebajikan Masyarakat, they register with them. So from there we can know whether they are employed or not employed, okay, all this other thing. So this is my opinions or my suggestions.
Okay. All right. So looks like we do need to have a better data collection
yes,
in order to have an accurate measurement of our part-time employment, because it's so subjective. Part-time employment. There's no like I would say like an agency or body where we can go to and say, okay, these are all the part-time employees who are registered. Everybody who doing part-time must register with a certain agency or government body, so that we have an accurate number or an accurate percentage that we can see. So so many different type of work, not just employment like you must have an employer, but work that is part-time.
Yes.
Of course. Yes, correct. Okay, while waiting for, I think there's still no question. Yeah, still no question. Yeah, probably I ask just one more question, looking at the time. Okay. Since there are no questions on the participant, let me just ask one more question, and then we can end this session. I'm looking at your last slide here, recommendation slide. I think it's good, or I'm really glad that I can see 3 of your 5 recommendations are related to encouraging women to come back to the workforce. So because also this part-time employment, although we are looking at part-time employment today, but it is very, very related to the entire labor force, right? So this this criterion is actually measuring part-time employment as a percentage of total employment. And if you look at total employment or total labor force for Malaysia, the labor force participation is actually around maybe 48%. And out of the 48%, if you look at the breakdown by men and women, by male and female, female only contribute 39%, about 39%. So 61% of the labor force is men, 39% is women. And earlier on, you showed that for Malaysia's population, actually the women or female population is higher in terms of percentage, is higher than the male population, right? So with that, I think it is appropriate that we should have our responsible government bodies or agency to encourage the women, yeah, to come back to the workforce with certain incentives or certain certain help support.
Yes.
Like you mentioned about childcare, for example, so that they can still come back to work. Maybe not even full time, but they can come back to work part time.
Part-time,
that will still be captured as being part of the labor force.
Labor force.
So what are the things that maybe you can elaborate a little bit for Malaysia? What can we do to encourage our women workforce, especially those who are actually graduates? There are many graduates. Actually, the number of students in our tertiary institutions today, actually a higher percentage are women compared to men. So we have quite a lot of graduates from the female gender, and how can we encourage them to be part of our labor force? Yeah, even part-time, if not full-time. Yeah, or even contract work if not full-time.
Contract workers.
Yeah. What are the things that the government can do to help them in this respect?
Okay, so thank you very much, Mr. Wong, for the question. Okay, on this aspect, like what you mentioned, the percentage of women compared to men, even in other countries, they are lesser. Because like what I mentioned earlier in what I shared earlier is women have more responsibility rather than men. Because if we also see right now, even for working people, you see working women, once they finish work, they quickly go back because they have some responsibility. But I don't know about men, because men usually when they finish work, they will spend time on other things. So that's why you can see that women is less working. I mean, they will consider not to work rather than working. Okay, so though my suggestion is to the government is to encourage the women, we have to really go into this. We have the Ministry of Human Resource and also the Women's what you call kebajikan under kebajikan masyarakat, Women's Ministry of Women.
I think it's Ministry of Family, Women's Welfare and Family, something like that. Yeah.
Yes. So what? But so I mean, this ministry, they have to focus on what women's needs. So, for instance, we have here like they have to take care of their parents, which is old, take care of their kids, and many other factors. So that looks into that. What we can do? I mean, beside the ministry or their own, and then other ministry, they have to give suggestion that what other ministry should focus on in helping out their gender. I mean, the woman on a female to come to work. And also, for the second part of the question, that is for the graduates. So most of the graduate, that is women. So I would rather say it's quite 50-50. So men and women, they also looking for job, not just for women, but how to encourage the woman is what I say, what I call the same, like what I mentioned earlier. So we have to give them encouragement on the skill. So what skill do they acquire? For instance, if they are graduate in pharmacies, so but then are they looking only for the pharmacist job, or they are graduate in other fields? So in fact, if the vacancies or the job that needs others sector, so we have to give what we call, provide them with more training skills on that fields or area that is more beneficial. And part of that issue suggestion, we also have to give them some perks to encourage them to go for that training, skill training or whatever trainings that we can help them out. And then you can, as we know that women or the graduate, the women graduates mainly, if they don't get a proper job or a job that is quite close to their area, I mean to their hometown, to their work, to their living place, that is also one of the factors. So we have to see, we have to consider all that. Consider if you compare with men, because men is more open. They can go anywhere, exciting. Okay.
All right. Okay. Thank you. Yep. Thanks for the explanation, Rahman. Okay, yeah. I think that's it for today, ladies and gentlemen. We have come to the end of our talk today. And thank you to our speaker, Rahman, for enlightening us on this topic of part-time employment. I would also like to thank all of you who have joined us this afternoon for taking precious time out of your busy schedule to participate in this webinar. I wish everyone here a good day and a productive rest of the week. And also stay healthy, stay safe, and as much as possible, stay home during this extended CMCO period. Goodbye. See you all again some other time. Bye-bye.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, bye-bye.
Thank you, gentlemen.